The other thing that often happens when you price a property at the low end of the spectrum is that it will bring multiple offers.
Insert don't confuse your Google search with my real estate license.
What price do you feel we should use to create a value in the eyes of a buyer?
Buyers often think that they should wait for the perfect market conditions.
The benefit is over the course of time, as you're investing in that home, its worth is growing.
Hello, welcome to Real Estate for Real People. My name is Brad Whitaker, and this is my wife, Marianne.
Hello.
And we are the owners of Realty One Group Pacifica in Southwest Washington State. So today, our topic is going to be real estate myths busted. What buyers and sellers often get wrong. And this is a pretty healthy list. I mean, we could probably almost go a year on this one, but we'll probably see if we can break it into 2 or 3 podcasts because it's a pretty healthy list. And there's a lot of, I guess, minutia in it that can really kind of, throw you one way or another. So anyway, we'll start with the big one, pricing myths. Okay?
Yes.
So many sellers believe that they should price their home high to leave it so that they have space to negotiate down. Okay? But that can also deter potential buyers. So what's the flaw in the thinking? Not that it isn't always one way, or it's not always right or always wrong.
No, there's always strategy one way or another.
But if your agent comes to you and says, "I think your home is worth $750,000 based on my market analysis as the real estate professional," insert don't confuse your Google search with my real estate license
or year's estimate
here, right? So how is that? What's the flaw there when you tell them, you should price your house at $750 and then it'll sell somewhere between $720 and $750, and they say, "Well, then we'd like to start at $800." I mean, is that not every seller that we deal with right now almost?
No.
Well, it is every seller, not almost every seller?
No? Generally speaking, no.
And you thought this wasn't going to happen. Okay.
Yes, I know. It depends on, all of this depends on strategy.
Sure.
Right? What is the end goal for the seller? There are always things going on in their lives, or if they're buying another home, or there are other characteristics that need to be taken into consideration. Everybody wants and should want the most out of their home. It's the biggest investment that they're going to make. But like I said, there's strategy for how to get that. What research has found is that if we don't price a home well, in a reasonable manner, that house will stay on the market longer, and in the long run, you will actually get less for your house.
And why is that? What's the perception?
The perception is if it stays on the market longer, there's something wrong with it.
Right.
Or
even if there's nothing wrong with it.
True. Either that or, we have very intelligent buyers now. There's a lot of data out there. So people that are buying homes are often looking and looking and looking, and they come to understand what the market is really doing and what a house in a specific area is probably worth or going to sell for, or is reasonable to sell for.
Right.
One of the things that I often tell my sellers when I'm working with them is, or I ask them a question, what price do you feel we should use to create a value in the eyes of a buyer? Because we want to get someone to purchase your home versus the home that you are competing against.
Right.
In your price range. So there's a balance for that. And we have, as realtors, we have lots of tools to determine what a range of valued price is in any given area, right? So
And what makes that range? What causes the difference?
So it may be things like finishes on a home. It will be things like square footage. So we'll take a range of square footage. And the reason we do all those things is because that is the process that an appraiser is also going to use.
Okay.
So it's always important to keep in mind that you can want what you want for your house on an emotional level. But the fact of the matter is that at some point it becomes a business decision. There are business practices that come into play. And the appraiser is one of those practices. A lender is not going to give a buyer a loan that is larger than the house is worth.
Okay.
So all those are things that we have to take into consideration when we're pricing the house. Well,
Okay, so hang on. So let me ask you a question. So,
Okay.
so are you saying that if just because, so let's say you have a seller and you told them 750, but they want 800. Some crazy out of touch buyer comes in and says, "I like that home so much, I'm going to offer you 800,000 and I'm financing." Are you telling me that if that home doesn't appraise at 800?
there's a very real likelihood that they will not get $800,000 for that home.
Because the lender's appraisal is going to say otherwise. And if it
Correct.
does, who's going to want to overpay for a house, I guess really is what that comes down to.
So, yes, there are ways to deal with that, but you have to deal with that kind of upfront,
Contractually and upfront.
contractually and upfront.
Okay.
For example, let's take your example. Let's say I have done the research and I know that 750 is a reasonable amount, a reasonable price point. Somebody offers 800,000. The advice I would give to my sellers would be, if you want to accept this offer, we need to counter back, give them a counter offer, and make sure that they have what's called evidence of funds, and down payment over and above what the price of the house is, so that they can close that gap. So they don't have, they're gonna need to bring $50,000 additional down payment to the table.
So so then what you're saying is, in the state of Washington, that form is called a 22AD.
Correct.
Okay, so
I'm trying not to use numbers because that's very real estate ease of us.
I get that.
But
So our form number is a 22AD, right? And so that says contractually, you've offered 800,000. If it appraises at 750, which is where we have it set at, you're going to bring $50,000 to close to make it 800. So you're guaranteeing us that you're going to get that price.
Correct.
Okay. So smart agents will do that.
Yes.
Agents who understand the forms will do that. So I guess because you are the listing agent in this example, your fiduciary responsibility is to make sure that you can help your seller navigate that.
Correct.
Okay.
And if the buyer can't do that, then that almost becomes an example of why.
Well, at that point, it feels like they're trying to buy the
Right.
offer.
They're trying to buy the
Right.
buy the offer.
I'm going to
win
offer
out
you
over somebody else.
50,000 over for your house. Meanwhile, having no intention of
Right.
actually paying 800,000 for that. Yeah, we've seen that happen a time or two, right? And some markets demand that guaranteed overpayment. Like if it's in a super hot market and you got multiple offers, you'll have sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 people in.
2021, 2022, we were seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. And we're even starting to see multiple offers now, but we haven't seen the 22AD come into a play as of yet.
Yeah. We don't have overinflated pricing, or what felt like overinflated pricing then.
Right. Not yet. Okay. So, so then the opposite concept to that is pricing your home at the very low end of the range. So you'll give people a range, let's say 725 to 775.
Yep.
Okay. And one will sit on the market longer, one will disappear within days, right? So the other end of that, instead of the high end of the spectrum, is the low end of the spectrum. So what does that strategy do typically? I mean, if the house is actually worth that money, right, and it's not a bunch of smoke and mirrors and it doesn't have a ton of deferred maintenance,
Right.
what does that strategy do?
Again, it depends on the situation for the seller.
Sure.
Maybe they need to sell it quickly. So if they need to sell it quickly, they need to price it at a price point that is going to facilitate that process.
Right.
The other thing that often happens when you price a property at the low end of the spectrum is that it will bring multiple offers. And often when that happens, we will call for something called highest and best in your offer. So bring the highest that you are willing to pay for this property. And people will end up outbidding each other. They will take the price point to wherever the market will bear, we say, right?
And that comes back to that educated buyer who understands what the house is really going to be worth. But then they may throw in, my grandkids live across the street and I'm willing to pay pretty much anything to get that house. So sometimes you have a buyer with that kind of motivation.
Right.
Right?
As the listing agent and the seller, we're probably not going to know that.
Right, unless they disclose.
Unless they disclose or say something about that in the conversation.
Right.
Which then becomes a piece of strategy.
Right.
And real estate is not a game. It's serious business, but there is strategy involved.
Yeah.
There, when you're pricing, when you're negotiating, all those pieces, and casual conversation can come into play for the positive or the negative.
Yeah, from both sides.
From both sides.
For sure. Okay, so when we talk about market timing,
Okay.
so buyers often think that they should wait for the perfect market conditions. Okay?
Buyers. Okay.
So I see this as similar to thinking about we need to wait to get married or we need to wait to have kids, right? There's no perfect time to get married. There's no perfect time to have kids, right? So
there may be a more
advantageous. Sure, right? Make sure you've got a job and a house, right, that you can bring kids home to, right? So there isn't really a perfect time to sell your home. Obviously, if you're in the complete tank in a market, maybe that's not a great time to sell your home, but that becomes the difference of people who have to sell versus people who need to sell or want to sell. Right?
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of buying now as opposed to waiting for the market to fall out or interest rates to come down? What's the myth of waiting for interest rates to come down? I guess let me ask you that question. So you have interest rates at, say, where they are today, 6.5.
To 7.05. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say rates are at 7.
Okay.
And somebody says, I'm going to wait till the interest rates get back down to 2.5% like they were in 21.
Okay.
What do you tell them?
We may not be seeing you for
Ever?
a very long time. Yeah. Interest rates of 2.5, even 3. That was an anomaly. That doesn't happen. I mean, I've heard of some folks who got interest rates under 2.
Yeah.
No,
So that's the outlier is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's an outlier. It's a
Right.
unicorn.
And it was
kind
really
of
market
time.
conditions. I mean, we were dealing with the pandemic at that point. I mean, there were
There were a
all
lot of
kinds of
things.
issues going on.
Yeah.
So then what? How do you counsel someone to not or to move
Depending
past waiting?
So it's always helpful to have perspective.
Okay.
Right. So ever since they have been tracking interest rates in the United States, over the course of that time, the average interest rate is, want to take a guess? 7%, which is right where we're at right now.
So that's what they call the 30-year running average?
Correct.
Okay. So then anything below 7% is better than the average?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything below 7%.
Okay.
Some other pieces to take into consideration when you're looking at interest rates, they are somewhat volatile. I mean, they're always changing.
Sure.
Depends on the political landscape. It depends on
Economic landscape, everything.
all of it.
Right.
So, again, there's not ever going to be probably a perfect time to do that with interest rates. There are programs out there that will allow you to have a short term lower interest rate.
You mean like an interest rate buy down?
Correct. Interest rate buy down, or an ARM.
An adjustable rate mortgage?
Yep.
Okay.
So those are some options as well. There are pros and cons to each one of those. So talk with your lender. But if you are somebody who's renting and you don't have a mortgage currently, all of your rent is going into somebody else's pocket, frankly. You have nothing to show as far as having assets. So a lot of people could very well take that rent amount, put it toward a mortgage, and have an asset to show for it.
Okay.
It's a tax advantage. There are all sorts of, it's home ownership. It's your house. It's all those things.
So what happens if let's say that, they're paying $2,000 a month for rent, and that's a 1,100 square foot, 3-bedroom apartment. If you took that $1,500 in rent, that might get you a 900 square foot bungalow. So it might feel like they're downgrading on size to keep the same payment.
Yep.
But what's the benefit?
The benefit is over the course of time, as you're investing in that home, its worth is growing.
Right.
And it gives you the opportunity to then, in the future, when you sell it for a higher price than you bought it for, you have more money for a down payment for a bigger house.
Gotcha.
So
it's a stair-step process.
It is.
And
you're not buying your forever home. Generally speaking, your first time you buy a house.
Right. Yeah. And I think, we've seen it time and time again where first-time homebuyers come in and they have this unreal expectation of, I want to buy what I just left, right? And my parents have a really nice house, and I want to get close to that. Well, your parents probably didn't start out with that nice of a house, right? They're 20 or 30 years into buying and selling homes to get to that house, right? Nobody starts with that big, fancy pants, whatever, right? Or a house on 5 or 10 acres, whatever it is that everybody wants, right? So, so I guess adjusting expectations.
I was going to just say, having reasonable expectations around that. You've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and really it almost, I guess, becomes like financial counseling.
Oh, yeah.
Really, where
definitely.
We're trying to help people understand that.
And to be clear, in some situations, in a number of situations, renting will be better than buying.
For some people. Right.
If they are in transition between job locations, that's not the time to buy a house.
Right.
If you are not familiar with an area, it may behoove you to rent in that area
for a year,
or in that city for a year to figure out where it is you really want to live.
Right. You could also be in a situation where you have, you're renting for, say, under $1,000 a month, and there's just no way on this planet that you're going to be able to find a house with a mortgage for under $1,000.
Right.
And so sometimes there are just financial limitations that it makes sense to rent and not buy. But if you're spending in rent something that could be equivalent to buying a home, you should really consider buying the home. Okay.
The other thing about renting is that there may be, when you go to visit a lender, the lender may find out, you have some things on your credit score or things financially that you need to take care of to really be able to take out a loan. for a mortgage. So it's never too early to talk to a lender about what your goals are for home ownership, and allow them to help you work through that process even before you talk to a real estate agent.
Sure. Okay. Good.
So my question is, we kind of tangent a lot away from that. Did we answer the question that we were really going for? The opposite. So we were talking about the opposite when we price low.
Right. Oh man, we're back there. Okay.
Did we do that?
I think so.
Okay.
So
just making sure.
I mean,
have a hard
but
time
we can just
tracking
recap.
sometimes.
So if we price it low, when we're talking about pricing strategies, the thought process is you price it low enough, you're going to have multiple buyers come to the table. And I mean, we've seen that just in the last 2 weeks with your business, where people get invested in wanting that house, and then not that we necessarily play buyers against one another. We'll call for highest and best, and then their agents advise them on what they should do based on their situation.
Correct. The other thing I was going to say about pricing high is that my advice to my sellers, if we're not seeing activity, traffic with a request for showings or a request for information, and we don't see that pretty quickly, we're priced too
Out of the
high.
market.
Out of the market. So having a pricing plan
Oh,
for bringing
yes.
that price down every week or 2 weeks by a certain amount becomes a pretty important piece to the process. But you have to talk, as an agent, it's up to us to talk about that right up front and
Yeah.
be really clear about that.
Yeah.
So our sellers don't have any unreasonable expectations, or we've done as much as we can to allay them.
Sure. Yeah, that
We're
makes
always
sense.
going to have people that have unreasonable expectations. But the challenge is, you guys, one of the biggest challenges is that oftentimes selling a home is a very emotional process. And as homeowners, we think oftentimes that our home is worth way more than anybody else is going to see it's worth, right? So that's where that whole idea of, yes, it is an emotional decision, but it's also a business decision. So you have to kind of have those two lenses on at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, so when we're talking about, we've got all these strategies for pricing a home.
Yep.
And market timing.
Yep. Oh,
But-
that's what we're talking about.
But when it gets to where the rubber meets the road and we're trying to establish or create value in a house, we'll often go to the seller and say, if you did A, B, and C, or they will come to us and say,
What
we'd
do we
like
need
to do.
or what do we need to
Right.
do to get to make our house more marketable?
Right. So, I mean, they'll come to us asking often, what do we need to do to change things up or make it worth more? So the first thing that everybody needs to understand is that you don't make a house more valuable by doing deferred maintenance and catching up to the stuff you've been letting sit.
True.
You're just making it more sellable.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, he's the one that we run into all the time. Well, I just put a new $20,000 roof on my house, so I want my house to be worth $20,000 more to recoup that money.
No, here's
that the way that
thing.
works?
Well, no.
Okay,
Because you have enjoyed that roof for however long that you have been in the home, and that's just one of those pieces of a home that has to be taken care of and has to be replaced every so often. So it doesn't improve the worth of the home.
just makes it more sellable.
It makes it more sellable.
Right.
Because frankly, if the roof is at the end of its life, it's going to get called out in the home inspection anyway.
Right.
So one way or another, it's going to get paid for.
And some buyers may or may not care, right? Some
True.
buyers may care, others might not. If
Most
I'm a,
lenders will. So
Yes.
I'll just leave it there.
so and that's the thing, right? So I mean, we've seen roofs that are 3 years old that were put on incorrectly.
Correct.
And
That's all.
they're
That's
leaking
true.
and they're just a mess. And we've seen roofs that are 30 years on, But because the seller has been maintaining that roof and they hasn't let moss grow on it and they haven't pressure washed it, all of a sudden that roof, which is 30 years old, still has a good amount of life left in it because they were taking care of it.
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of it depends on what the seller does for preventative maintenance.
That is true.
Okay. So you've got the whole concept of, deferred maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
But then let's go inside the house.
Okay.
And let's say that carpet's old or dated, it's orange shag from 79, right? Whatever.
What?
Right? Or there's carpet in the bathroom.
Avocado green is my favorite.
Carpet in the bathroom, not a good idea. So someone says, I want to recarpet the house because it's all old. What do you tell them?
Sure, go ahead. No, I'm just joking. My advice would be, first of all, chances are that somebody who's going to buy your house may want something different than you would choose for them.
So even though they may want carpet, they may want blue instead of brown.
Sure.
Okay. Or maybe they'll want tile or luxury vinyl plank
Exactly.
or hardwoods.
Exactly.
Okay.
So instead of doing that work and taking that time and all that headache, offer up some kind of
like a flooring credit?
flooring credit or something like that.
So then they
as
get to
part of the.
So the
as
future
part of
buyer gets to
offer.
pick what they get.
Right.
Okay. I see the value in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then.
Same with paint.
Right.
Honestly, I mean, there are some paint jobs. Yes, please paint. If it's hot pink, I love pink. Don't get me wrong, but hot pink in a room is not everybody's jam. And if it's in the main bedroom, chances are that's not going to work very well. Versus the kids' room.
Right. So I mean, we've walked into homes, and you would have thought that a blind person painted that, because not only was the job done horribly, but every room was a different color, and normally bright and obnoxious lime green and fuchsia. Right. It looks like a Jimmy Buffett concert just happened in there. Right.
Right.
What do you tell that seller?
So again, it depends, right? If we know that they are colors that are going to be really hard to paint over, black. Let's go there.
Sure.
I would probably suggest to a seller to paint that room or that wall. If they are not in a position that they can do that, right, for whatever reason, or if the layout of the house, other characteristics of the house are so compelling that people are going to be able to look past the paint, because some people can.
Yep.
It's just paint, right? But some people can't see past it. So you kind of got to weigh out all those factors. If you are going to repaint, my suggestion is always that you go with some kind of neutral color.
Okay.
Just because then somebody else can paint an accent wall if they want, or they can wait. It's not going to totally irritate them for weeks on end before they can get to it after they buy the house.
Right.
So
Okay.
it just kind of depends.
Sure.
Situational.
Okay. So, how about when we look at things that make the house more sellable, there are some things that make the house more valuable, like a completely remodeled kitchen or a newly remodeled bathroom.
Yep.
Now, the only thing that guarantees to add value to a house is additional square footage.
Correct.
Because you're making the house bigger, right? The other thing that everybody needs to realize is that when it comes to an appraisal, if you have a 2-story home and both levels are above ground, both stories get a similar valuation. If you have a 2-story home with a daylight basement, so you got a main floor ranch with a basement, the basement does not get the same valuation as the above ground portion.
Right.
We've seen that as much as 50% lower if it's a basement. Even if it's completely finished and just as beautiful as the top floor, the appraisers do not give it the same amount of value. So, because we've seen a lot of homes in older homes that it's an 1,800 square foot home on top, and it's another 1,800 square foot home below.
Yep.
So I mean, you've got 3,600 square feet, but if you're getting $250 a square foot up top, you might get 125 to 150 below. So, people think, oh, well, homes are selling for 250 a square foot. I multiply that times 3,600 square feet. Wow, my home's worth X.
Yeah,
And it's not. So, I mean, people need to understand how the appraiser looks at these things. So, will the appraiser care?
Well, and I'm gonna back up. It's not just the clients that need to know. It's the agents that need to understand that too.
Sure.
So we often run into agents that don't have an understanding of that piece
Right.
as well. So
Does an appraiser care if the home is newly painted or not?
no.
Does
The only thing that an appraiser, if it's a government loan, they're going to care if there's any peeling paint, any bare wood outside, inside. No,
No.
not so much.
Are they going to care if it has new carpet or not?
No,
As long as there isn't holes in it so you can see the
Yeah.
subfloor, right?
no.
So there are things that an appraiser is just going to ignore because their main function is square footage, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, overall general living area. And I guess one of the things that's important to talk about real quick is that the appraisal guidelines have changed in the last few years, where you don't have to have a closet in a room anymore for it to count as a bedroom. So if it's being used as a bedroom when the appraiser gets there, and as long as there isn't functional obsolescence, like it's really the living room, right? You can't put a bed in the living room and say, this is my bedroom, because you have a front door and you access the kitchen.
So let me
right?
give a more reasonable definition of functional obsolescence in one of my listings.
What was that phrase?
Functional
Yeah.
obsolescence.
Whew. You worked all day on that phrase.
Did.
Okay.
Not to be outdone by stroke victim me. Anyway, functional obsolescence. So there was a room in the home that I was selling that had an exterior door to the back porch.
Okay.
It had been originally called a bedroom. You don't generally have a pass through from the main part of the house.
Was that the only way to get to the back porch?
That was the only way to get to the
Oh, yeah,
back
you've
porch.
got a problem now.
But they call it a bedroom because it had a closet, and at the time there was a bed in there. It was being used as a bedroom.
Wow.
But again, this was a couple of years ago, so when it was, so we'll see.
So then what you're telling me is it's not always a cut and dry, easy to determine case when it comes to an appraisal.
No.
We've seen, so you have the VA appraiser comes out, and there's a detached garage 100 feet from the house, and there's peeling paint on that. We've had some appraisers call that out, even though it has nothing to do with the existing house.
True story.
The reason being because the house is older than 1978, that peeling paint could have lead-based paint in it. And what if a little kid comes along and snaps off those paint chips and
eats them.
and has lunch, right? Along with their crayons and glue, I guess. I don't know. So if you are buying a home, you have to look at the outbuildings. Maybe they are going to have, or if you're selling a home, really is where it's more important. You want to scrape that stuff off, sweep it up, throw it away, and then you got to repaint any bare wood. Okay?
Yep.
But I guess the ultimate arbiter of this is the appraiser, because they have the ability or the leeway to consider that or not. Because we've seen VA appraisers go through, and they don't care about any peeling paint.
Pretty subjective.
Yeah,
honestly.
it is very subjective. That's a great word. So, okay, so
The last piece on this topic, though, what I would always encourage a seller to take a look at, as far as marketability, is what does it look like? What does the front of your home look like when somebody is walking up?
to
take a look at it.
first glance.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you want to see? As a listing agent, what do you want to see?
The lawn's mowed.
Okay.
The bushes are cut back and trimmed.
Okay.
It
Fresh
has,
bark on the beds or fresh bedding?
that would be great.
How about a freshly painted front door? So it doesn't look
Lovely.
like it's been
And
attacked
if
by...
you have a garage door that has been run into a couple of times, you might want to consider taking
Swapping out
care
a
of
couple
that.
of those panels?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd
So
be a suggestion.
the
Broken windows, take care of those. I mean,
front face of your home then is really,
curb appeal.
yeah, that's what you call it, curb appeal. Okay.
You want somebody when they approach your home to go, oh wow. I mean that it's not going to improve what your house is worth,
Right.
but it's going to get people in the door.
One of the things that we've seen many times is people walk up, and if they see that shutter's broken and it's hanging off, and there's a shingle laying in the front lawn from the roof, and the gutters are growing trees or very tall weeds, they're immediately going...
Psychologically, that's a downer.
Right.
People are going to say, oh, this clearly is not a house that has been well taken care of. I don't think I'm interested.
Well, and I think the deeper question is, if they can't fix the outside, what are they neglecting on the inside? So, I mean, there's a much bigger picture here. It's much more complicated than it might seem on the outset.
Correct.
So, when you're listing your home, make sure, message to everybody that wants to sell, listen to your agent. And if your agent can't give you solid advice, go find an agent that can and work with them, because this is your largest investment that you have often in your portfolio at that time. So make sure that you're going to maximize your profit from that.
Yep.
Okay.
So thanks for joining us today.
Whew, we didn't get anywhere near this thing, so
That's
this
all
is
right.
definitely going to be a 2 or 3
It
parter.
has given us more fodder for future podcasts. So
Right.
we hope you'll come back and join us again. Have a great day.
All right. Talk to y'all later.